You feel it instantly. Someone pulls back just a little. A message doesn't come in. The tone shifts barely noticeable, and before you've even had a chance to think, your body reacts. Something tightens in your chest, your stomach, your throat. Your mind starts moving, searching, filling in blanks. And suddenly it feels like rejection. But here's what's strange. Nothing actually happened. No one said anything. No one rejected you. And there's no clear event you can point to. And still your entire system reacts as if something real just occurred. That feeling didn't start in the moment. It started before the moment even reached you. Because your brain does not wait for reality to arrive. It predicts it. And it prepares your body for that prediction before you become conscious of any of it. This is not a character flaw. It is not anxiety. It is not being too sensitive. It is a mechanism. And once you understand it, you will never interpret your reactions the same way again. Here's what is actually happening beneath the surface. Your brain receives an enormous amount of incoming information every second, from your environment, from other people, from your own body. Far more than it can consciously process. So it doesn't process everything equally. It filters. And the filter it uses is not logic, not fairness, not the present moment. The filter is pattern. Before a situation fully registers in your awareness, your brain has already scanned it against everything you have experienced before. Every similar moment, every similar feeling, every situation that once carried this kind of weight. And faster than conscious thought, it generates a prediction. What is this situation? What does it mean? What is likely to happen next? And then, this is the part most people never see, it prepares your body for that prediction. Not for what is actually happening, but for what it expects is about to happen. So by the time you consciously notice the situation, your body is already inside a response. The tightness in your chest is not a reaction to what occurred. It is your nervous system preparing for what your brain predicted would occur. You feel the conclusion before the situation has even finished unfolding. And because the feeling is so immediate, so physical, so convincing, it feels like truth. This is why the reaction feels bigger than the moment. Because it didn't come from the moment, it came from a prediction your brain assembled from something much older. Your brain doesn't generate these predictions randomly. It generates them based on what has been emotionally significant in your past. If you have experienced rejection, genuine, painful rejection, your brain built a pattern from it. It cataloged what that situation looked like in its early stages, what a certain tone of voice felt like, what a particular kind of silence meant, what a slight withdrawal signaled. And it did this for a very good reason. It was trying to protect you. If it could recognize the early signs of rejection before rejection fully arrived, it could prepare your body to respond, tighten up, pull back, protect. That was useful. Once. But the brain does not update that pattern just because time has passed. It does not check whether this situation is actually the same as the one it learned from. It checks whether it resembles the pattern it already holds. And resemblance is not the same as reality. This is why the reaction can feel out of proportion. This is why you can be in a completely new situation, with a completely different person, and still feel something that belongs to a much older story. Your nervous system is not responding to the present, it is responding to the prediction, which is drawn from the past. And once that prediction is active, something else happens that most people miss entirely. Your brain starts filtering your perception to confirm it. This is not a choice, it is automatic. The delay in a response suddenly feels loaded. A neutral tone feels slightly colder. A moment of silence feels heavier than it is. Not because those things objectively changed, but because your brain is now scanning specifically for evidence that matches the prediction it already made. It is not trying to discover the truth. It is trying to confirm what it already expects. And because you are now interpreting neutral signals as threatening, your behavior begins to shift. You become slightly less open, less relaxed, less present. You pull back a little, overthink your next message, and adjust your tone in ways you're not fully aware of. And here is the mechanism that locks the loop in place. The other person doesn't respond to your thoughts or the story inside your head. They respond to what you're actually doing, your energy, your micro movements, the slight withdrawal they can sense but probably can't name. And when they sense that shift, and people often do, even without being able to name it, they frequently pull back too. Not out of rejection, out of response. But to your brain, that confirmation is everything. See, this is what always happens. And so, the pattern completes itself. Not because rejection was inevitable, but because the prediction created the very conditions that made it more likely. This is the part that is both uncomfortable and important to sit with. The pattern doesn't repeat only because of what other people do. It repeats because the prediction system is running consistently, automatically, and it is shaping your behavior in ways that make the prediction more probable. You are not just experiencing the world, you are partially constructing the version of it you experience. And the more that pattern has repeated, the faster it moves. The earlier the prediction fires, the less the brain waits for actual evidence before it begins preparing your body for what it already expects. This is why, for some people, the reaction happens at the very first sign of ambiguity, before any real information is available, before the situation has had a chance to develop into anything at all. The brain doesn't need the full picture. It fills in the rest. Now, once you understand this mechanism, something shifts. Not immediately, not dramatically, but in the moments where the reaction rises, you have a question available that wasn't there before. Did something actually happen, or did my brain move early? That question does something important. It interrupts the automatic loop just long enough to create a gap between the sensation and the story your brain wants to attach to it. In that gap, you're not suppressing the feeling or telling yourself it isn't real. You're simply slowing down the process of meaning-making long enough to check. Is there actual evidence here? Or is this my nervous system running an old pattern in a new situation? Sometimes the answer is yes. Something did happen and the reaction is appropriate. But often the answer is that nothing has actually been confirmed yet. And that distinction changes what happens next. Because if nothing has been confirmed, you don't have to respond from the prediction. You can stay present a little longer, stay open a little longer, and give the situation space to become what it actually is, rather than what your brain expected it to be. This is not about forcing yourself to feel differently or overriding your nervous system with willpower. It is about recognizing that the feeling arrived before the facts did. And that recognition, repeated consistently over time, is how the prediction system gradually updates. Not through insight alone, but through new experience. Each time you pause, check, and find that the threat wasn't real, your brain registers that outcome. It adds it to the pattern and slowly learns that this kind of situation does not automatically lead to that kind of result. The prediction loosens its grip, not because you forced it to, but because you gave your brain new evidence to work with. And eventually, not overnight, but gradually, the same situation that once triggered an instant full-body reaction begins to feel more neutral. Not because you became less sensitive, because your brain finally updated what it expected. That is how perception changes, not by deciding to see things differently, but by understanding that what you felt first was a prediction, and that predictions built from the past are not the final word on what the present actually is. If this helped you see one of your own reactions differently, like the video, it signals that this kind of mechanism-based content is worth continuing. And if you want to keep exploring how identity, prediction, and perception quietly shape the reality you experience, subscribe. Every video here goes one layer deeper.